All right, thank you very much for your attendance. I can see many people joining, which is great to see. Welcome to one of our first Lunch and Learn sessions, focusing today on retail enhancements in some upcoming versions of Marlin GTX to deliver out to you. I'd like to introduce myself and my team. I'm Justin Chalk. I'm the CEO of Megabus. I've also got on the line David Brewer, who's our product QA specialist, and Tobin Richard, who's our R&D manager of Marlin GTX. And additionally, we have Vincent Yong, who's our marketing manager. So welcome, David, Tobin, and Vincent.
Thank you.
So what's today about, and what's Lunch and Learn about? So for us, this is a new initiative and format so that we can educate both our existing and potential clients on what happenings and going-ons are going on at Megabus, but additionally in the software and releases of our products upcoming. We're really here just to hopefully offer you a little bit of a break out of your business for maybe half an hour to an hour out of your busy schedule to learn a little bit and share a bit of best practice about various topics as we roll these out, but particularly today, just some retailing enhancements in the Marlin GTX product. The sessions will be recorded and we'll certainly distribute them after today for both people that have registered and people that were unable to make the live webinar. So it is a webinar format. We have quite a large number of attendees, which is fantastic to see. I can see already everyone joining. So what we'll do is in this area on your screen, you should have the opportunity to post some questions. Both David, Tobin, and Vincent will be monitoring that. Where possible, they may speak up on your behalf and ask a question or two, but certainly after the fact, we will summarize any of the questions asked throughout the webinar and distribute that along with the video as well. So really appreciate your input there. Anything you come across, any topics presented today can be discussed with your account management team here at Megabus, and also we've got our inquiries at megabus.com.au email address that you can certainly ask any questions of as well. Understanding this is a lot of content to get into the time slot allocated, so we'll do our best to keep on time. I'll rely on David and Tobin to help keep me in line as well. So thank you all for joining. So we'll dive right in. What is it that we'll cover? So there's been a lot of advancements in Marlin GTX leading up to this version. So there's a lot to share around some initiatives with the planner, some text messaging advancements, some searchability and speed improvements across auto tracker and inventory, some enhancements with invoice entry we can show you, great new opportunities for you to do some cost saving in your business to do with printing, especially around thermal receipt printers. That's a significant area we're seeing we can deliver some cost savings in. We've got some enhancements for both sales people and technician tracking, so you can understand who's doing what in your business. There's a commissions and incentives module, which I don't think's really been used a lot out in the field. So we'd like to go through that with you and show you what that can do, potentially with the way you incent and manage your sales and workshop staff. And there's also a brand new bill of materials module, which has been a significant piece of work that we're happy to deliver to the market with this version. After this, we've got this software is ready to release to the market now. There is some very large enhancements coming in the next quarter's release too, where we'll have another follow-up session here. And additionally, we'll be having a session based around back office efficiencies and some of the enhancements we've put into the software of recent times that relate, as opposed to retailing, more to the back office area of the software. So let's get rolling. So the first enhancement that we want to show you today is all about the planner. We've got this new column in the planner called fillable. And this lets you see at a glance which orders can be filled immediately out of your inventory, or where you may need to juggle or manage some inventory purchases. So it's very simple. It's at a glance. A red cross indicates there's not enough inventory for one or more lines on an order. The warning symbol indicates that you do have enough inventory to fulfill an order, but there may be a competing order in your work order list for that stock. And a green tick means that we can fulfill that order based on the known inventory quantities available at the time. So I'll switch over. Oops. Bear with me. Okay. So here's my planner. You can see the new column here is indicated as fillable. And this order here currently has a green tick, and I hover the mouse over it and it says all products have sufficient stock available. So where this is a real time saver is at the end of the day where you're looking at tomorrow's orders. This analyzes all the orders in the planner. So provided you're using work orders and everything's in yellow, this will be available. Very easy example is if I go into this order and I move to my work order, you can see I've got 12 of these. I currently got 21 in stock. So if I move that to 22, as you would be aware, I would need to find inventory for that. If I just save and update that order, just turn off a couple of these things that I'll show you later. Okay, we've now got a caution symbol in here saying that one or more products have enough stock on hand, but this order may impact another order. So I do have other orders competing for that inventory. If I raise it even higher, I now can no longer fill that order because I don't have enough inventory to fill all the orders in the system for that line. So I have another order sitting in there for that product on yesterday that's also competing for that line. So that's a real easy at a glance manner to see, can I fulfill this order off my current inventory?
And Justin, just quickly, I think what's really important there is to actually know how long delivery times generally take for your products. And if it's 2 or 3 days, then you need to view those 2 or 3 days out, where if you know you can order stock in the morning and get it by tomorrow, then you can do it the day after. So that's important, I think, to understand that as well, to know your delivery time, so you know you've got enough to fill that day when it comes around.
Absolutely, and we've had great feedback from all the sites that have started to employ this already. All right, so the next item that we've got to show you here is a text message approval of the order. So if I work through this, so we can create an order in the system, and instead of printing that order out, we can request the customer approves that order, and we can deliver that approval via a SMS text message. So the order will hit the customer's smartphone. They can sign on glass that they agree to that order. That order is then saved against, that signature is then saved against that order. And it will also print on the work order if you ever to deliver that work order again. So it's very easy to get set up. Sorry, I've just got I'll dial it back to a more meaningful number. So we've got the 4 tyres here that we want to get authority on. So if I save that, with this module activated, you can see I've got an option here to request customer authorization. And I can do that via sending it to a SMS, to a text number. So I can do that. And what that will do is queue up a text message, as we'll see here in your text message manager. That's now queuing up that message along with a link that the customer can use to approve. So while I'm waiting for that to come in, I'll move on to the next item. So that usually takes about a minute or two to get out there. One of the exciting enhancements coming up in the last quarter release for this year is instant and two-way text messaging. So we'll be able to have conversations backwards and forwards via text straight from the software, and an upgrade to the back end where delivery and receipt is absolutely instant. So you can see here, this has just come through. So if I click on that link, this would get shrunk down onto the smartphone device, but you can have your details in the top here for your business. That is line by line what was on the work order, along with all your comments, etc. You can achieve sign off by signing and approving. And there's also an opportunity to click and download a live PDF of that order, if the customer wanted to do that. So by approving it, that will then flow that information back into your system. And we'll see once that comes back and refreshes, we'll have a little authority indicator in this column here. So again, everything takes a little bit to come backwards and forwards, but we'll see that pop up, which it does there. So I can see now I've got inventory for that order, and the customer has actually authorized that work with a signature. All right, I don't think it's as simple as that enhancement to the software. So the next stage where texting and documents is available is on the finalized invoice. So that same text message capability, we can now deliver into when we finalize the invoice. So if I open up the order and I move that across to invoice, it's got the attachment, which is the signature from the work order authority. I can push that through and finalize the invoice however we pay for it. And again, I get this new option in here to text the final invoice to the customer as well. And they'll receive a link that goes straight into that PDF display, which they can then do what they want to do with on their smart device. In terms of the texting, like I said, there is enhancements we're working through for the final quarter release to do with immediate texting. And also there's the opportunity for you to obtain your own dedicated number where you can have basically a single number representing your business, which you can then keep. You lock that number away, and that allows for current and future two-way correspondence at any time with your customer base. So that can be quite a substantial change to the way you can market to your client out of the software. We've just got the updated document. There's a text message there, and that's the invoice straight from your system to the customer. Just checking, Tobin and David, I haven't missed anything out there.
No, that looks good so far.
I think you've remembered everything so far.
All right. All right, so we've just added an extra status into the planner items, which identify the job is complete and ready to be invoiced. This is a balance between many of you out there utilize work orders completely end to end, And many of you out there also utilize parking. Now, while parking is completely available and supported in the software, we have found that parking has its remnants back in over a long journey at Megabus of being able to park transactions, and various technical reasons why parking was what it is in the software, and its journey now to where work orders and other order types have taken over from really the meaningfulness of parking. So what we have added to the planner to give you the option of kind of leaving parking behind is the ability just to mark a planner line as complete. So you get that visual indicator that there's nothing left to do on the job, and the only thing we need to do is engage the customer, obtain payment, and get them successfully back into their vehicle driving away from us. So if you wish, you can request off us that we enforce some workflow in your business. So you can log a call with us and we can disable parking completely from your software, from the invoice workflow. And then that creates no ambiguity between different members of your business doing things in a different way. One of the things with parking is that parking a transaction is not actually updated in your database. It's held in a holding area. And by eliminating parking, we eliminate any risk of that and any audit concerns around things happening on a parked transaction. So we audit everything in the software. Parking is just this temporary space where things can happen that we would rather not. So you can request upon a help desk to disable parking completely, and then you would work into a workflow that I'll show you now. So really everything drives fairly well as normal. I move in through my bookings, I move to a work order, or I could move straight to an invoice. You'll notice at the top in my system here, I don't have the ability to park. I'll just pop 4 of those on again. Okay, so where I mark in the system that I'm happy with this job is I can simply right click and change the current status. And we've got this work complete status in here now, and that puts a nice C on the left-hand side. So that's the visual indicator instead of the P that we're all good. There's nowhere left to go other than we'll move it forward to an invoice. As usual, you can come in there and move it towards the invoice.
Justin, I might just say here, oh, sorry, I was just going to say, on a busy planner, when you've got 20 or 30 jobs in there, the green C stands out to know which jobs have been completed and be ready to build, and which jobs you still got to do further work on. And instead of parking, what you can just go straight back into work order, and you can go back in and out as many times as you need to in the work order to make any small changes. And it makes it just as quick and easy as editing the work order as it does as parking it, but it gives you full auditability.
Yeah. So the theory really goes around you toss over and revolve and revise that work order continually until you want to move it and collect the money, which then you move forward to invoice. And that's the best way of keeping audit through the whole life cycle. And just while I'm here, you may notice there's even now we've got audit logs across the planner. Okay, so every time I've changed everything in this actual planner entry now, we're now auditing every step of the way. So audit is really rich in the software. We like to be able to prove everything out. And this is just another step where you can help improve the consistency and security in the business to do with, transactions taking place. All right, so some enhancements with Auto Tracker. So the refactoring of vehicle and owner searches. So you can now search on any attribute of a customer or vehicle to allow for easier selection. So that can be multiple custom attributes or a mix of customer attributes with vehicle attributes. So the best way to describe what we're talking about is to go into a new entry and begin with search. So what you'll realize is that on the left-hand side here, you used to have many different options to do with first name, second name, mobile. That's all been condensed into all of a bit of a fuzzy search. So you just search for what you want. The best advice is that you can manipulate this search just by using the space bar, right? So obviously, if I just search for my first name, there's going to be a lot of results. If I search for my first name and my second name, it's going to join those two terms together to try and narrow me down. Where it's interesting is well, give me all the Justins with a Pajero. And in this case, that's quite nice. I might be able to hit a Smith, right? And I might need to get an idea where that's come from.
Clear out Pajero and retype it. That's a
Apologies.
It's actually saying
no,
that
stop,
there aren't
Justin.
any
Stop.
Smiths
If you read
that
the
have a
message
Pajero.
down in red,
Yep.
Says go back
yeah.
to Smith there, Justin. What it basically was saying is that you've searched for a Smith who owns a Pajero, and there are no Smiths that own a Pajero. So if you do Smith again, you can see that message come up.
If I change this to
No. Oh yeah,
Festiva.
There you go.
Yeah.
No,
And
that's the same.
No owners matching Justin, owner vehicle matching Festiva.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. So it's basically telling you that the search parameters you've entered, there isn't any results.
Yeah.
And I think it then just matches on the singular one.
Yeah.
Which would be the owner, because you're in the owner tab.
Thanks for that. So that's the changes in there. So there can also be that also takes attributes across both items. So I can put my number in here, and that finds my result as well. So that's all been factored to be a lot quicker and a lot more accurate. That gets invoked if you do type off here and hit search. It'll pass those details in and jump to that search as well.
And just FYI, you can also search on a make or model and any of the variables. So you could search on a 2008 Pajero, or so that way, if you know some information about the vehicle or the customer, you've got those abilities.
All right, so the similar treatment has been given to stock search. So you can now search on any attribute of a product or multiple attributes of a product to narrow one down. Another good example of this is it's not just searching the search codes anymore. So against inventory products, you would originally have a product code and the 3 search fields. So all of those 3 search fields still remain, but this searching is now a lot more broader. It searches a lot of the attributes across the product, including name and long description, and any additional items you've got configured. So it's very good for wheel searching, because you can put color and size in together and it narrows it down very quickly. If I just do a search term like the size code, and then if I wanted to find the sport, oh, sorry, I'll put that search code in with space and sport, that narrows the list down to those two terms. And I can even, there can even be other things like in your long description, if you've got colors and sizes, etc., it will find those as well. I think that's as simple as that, David, unless you got any other fun ways we've seen it be used.
No, but there was a query that came in, and I think it's an important one in the previous screen, Justin. If you go back to adding a booking, if you type in a brand new person in this front screen and put in all their information, so as long as you put in there, like you can put Fred Jones and a mobile number in, don't put me in there because I'll be in there. And then you hit search. Because Fred Jones hasn't been in the business before, when you select new person, it will retain that information.
Yeah.
The reverse is not quite true. So if you go straight to the search icon and type in Fred Jones, it won't carry back because it doesn't know if Fred is a first name or surname. So it is better to put as much information in the front screen, or the information that you know about the customer, and then hit the search button. So that was a question that came up in the Q&A, which I hope I answered, and that helps.
Great question.
Yeah, I thought so.
All right. Yeah, and that stock searching, again, we see a lot of people now beginning to utilize the longer capability in long description. You can have more characters in there. So that's searching indexes across all of that. So that's quite powerful. All right. So just getting back to, looks like we're keeping along with time. So that's good. So Retail Enhancements invoice entry. So this is a small one. This is a switch that you can request to get turned on. If you're very diligent with your email marketing and your data capture, we can turn a switch on that says, even though email address is not mandatory, it'll let you get all the way through the transaction cycle. And when you hit finalize to finalize the invoice, it pops up a question and it just says, the person does not have an email address. Do you wish to add one? It's kind of the last chance. And usually the customer is in front of you because you're checking them out. So you can obtain their email address literally at the cash screen. And that will do two things. It'll update the email address against their record. And it will also give the option then to email them that invoice straight away. So again, continuing to help cut down costs with toner, paper, and those printing costs in your business. So that is a behind the scenes switch, again, that you can request to get turned on. I think for the sake, I'll run through it.
Oh, look.
All right. So we're at Fred Smith, weren't we, earlier?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you actually got a booking there already. You can use. Oh no, did you cancel? I think.
Fred Smith. We're going to search for him. It's not that one, so it's a new person. No email. We'll push it forward. We'll go all the way to an invoice because we're skipping all the rules. Okay, there it is there. So we're going to finalize the invoice. Do you wish to add the email address? Yes, I do. That will update his record. I can collect the payment, and I can now email that off to Fred.
And you could even untick print to save the cost of printing the invoice.
All right, so another enhancement to Auto Tracker is we're going to show you all the inactive vehicles and give you the opportunity to merge them. So what we do see is, and we often get calls into the support center about this, is there's times when basically new vehicles have been created, be it either through an accidental user error or just the way work orders have been turned over and jobs have been managed, that all the iterations of the vehicles have been created over time of using the software. And there's an opportunity now to display those and also display that it's not the current active instance of that vehicle, because we track every time the vehicle is in and every time you edit any details. A great example here is it first came in as a Holden Commodore, then on the next invoice we actually updated it to a VX, and then we've obviously added some vehicle data into the system, and it's been created again under a much more detailed data point. So we're just giving you the option now to see those inactive instances, so you can clean up your data as you go, and you can merge those inactive instances into the active one.
An important note is each of these instances could have their own history against them. So in the past, if you created a new instance, you actually could have, in theory, not see the history against those old inactive instances. So now you can merge them all together and get all that history back together in one spot.
So if I go into an inactive one here, okay, this could have had transactions against it, and then an operator's come in and added it again instead of picking it up and enhancing it. So we now can view the inactive one, which you couldn't do previously in this list. So this was used to not be viewable. And now you can merge that in. And this only shows you the active ones. So that just allows me to collapse up the inactive ones with its history into the active one. All right, so now when I go back, search again, that's now gone. All that history now would belong to the primary vehicle. All right, I don't have any show and tell on this one because it's a bit hard to show through the presentation here. However, we've got full support for Epson thermal printers. Specifically, the current recommended model is one like the one you see here. And so what does this do? So this really reduces your cost of toner and paper and drums and everything associated with printing, and reduces it basically to the footprint of, well, if you have to print, you can print it on a thermal receipt. So quotes, work orders, receipts, invoices, credit notes, deposits, all are capable of printing out on the thermal printer. We've even been able to create a thermal job card work order that that in the proof of concept they were able to just put that on under the clipboard as the order for that vehicle coming in. So the capability is there. All the standard document templates for the customer workflows support the thermal printing. There's a lot of savings to be made to move into it. It certainly is a different feel. It's a different customer experience, I guess, than getting a big A4 sheet of paper. But if you're digitally delivering, and using thermal, that's that there's some cost savings to be made there that can be quite high by once you add everything up by the end of the year. So that's very much engaged with our account management team. We can steer in the right direction of the right printers supported. They're generally networked, so you do need some extra blue cables in your infrastructure to make sure it can all talk together. And the other cool thing about these Epson printers is that they also act as cash drawer controllers, so we can activate cash drawers off them by daisy chaining them as well. So that's just an added benefit. It's a lot better technology than the very old cash drawer technology. So you also can get basically you're not restricted to a specific single cash drawer, etc. anymore. You can get a compatible cash drawer with that thermal printing solution. Probably Tobin, I think hopefully I've covered all that for the thermal printing side.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can work with you to help customize how those thermal printouts look, including, potentially getting your logo and things onto them. It's just a matter of talking to us and seeing what we can do for you.
All right. In the software, it looks like this. So wherever you got the print options, once you've got it activated, there is a new option called the Quick POS printer, and that knows how to talk in your settings to the Epson thermal receipt printer. So it's still there. You can still, from transaction to transaction, switch over to your laser printer, but the thermal will also be supported. All right. So these next two, we've got salesperson tracking per line and technician tracking per line. I'll tackle them both in the software together, and you may have already seen a preview of that when I was in a transaction here. So this can be turned on. The traditional way you would know who the salesperson was would be by the salesperson here. And if you use the word fitter or technician, this word can be changed in the settings. You can call it whatever you wish. But we would assign a job, basically a whole order, to a particular technician or a fitter. In a lot more of our, I guess, somewhat complicated workshops, or where you've got specialists that are doing specialist work, that's not good enough to live at the top of an order. We need it to live at the line level. So we can say that in this example, we had, Brian came in and sold this line, and we had Jeff who did the work, and then we might have done a wheel alignment, right? Maybe that was sold after the customer came in. They were upsold to the wheel alignment, and we had Larry do that work there. Now, where this is really important is for warranty recalls. You can now get to the line of the invoice and see who did what. And it's very common, to record all that on the job cards and then come back in here. And when you're preparing the invoice to go out, you tag who did what against what lines, and that'll get saved against the transaction. It appears in the line details, and you can, when there's a recall, you can work out exactly who did that work. For shared responsibilities, you can also tag multiple people against a line on an order. We can optionally make that print as well on the work order. So, by looking at the work order printout who did the job, that is a capability as well. When you're researching a invoice, if I just move that to and finalize it out, All right, if I go and research that, I think I can get to it from here.
No, I think you need to manage customers.
Yeah, sorry, apologies. So when I'm researching that line in my more info area, I can see the salesperson on that line. And as I move between the lines, that refreshes. And additionally, I can see who was the technician on that line if I want to research down to that level. All right. So that ability to capture that information folds into a fairly substantial module on commission tracking. We could go in for half an hour on how to set this up and the theories behind it all. The best way is to show you the end result and how this may or may not be a tool in your business that you could use to both track and potentially incentivize your staff around certain activities. So the origins of the module are interesting. I deployed the module over in the US market where cost of labor generally is lower. However, commissions and incentives are very much a component of workshop practices and labor practices in general. So there's a lot of learnings on this module from that market, and it's fairly mature in being able to release it into the market here in Australia. So that's it's well used. The theory goes that you have a whole bunch of customers that you serve, potentially across different segments. So that may be retail, it may be online, it may be account-based customers, commercial customers, fleet, for example, and there's different business inputs that determine margins, etc., on when you split your customers that way. Additionally, you don't just sell one widget, right? You sell many different classes of product, many different types of products, where it's, tires, wheels, batteries, suspension, labor, mechanical, under hood, under car, pneumatic hoses, assemblies, all sorts of different products that you sell. So the goal is to create initially a grid, like an Excel spreadsheet, that has all your customer classifications along one axis and all your product classifications along the other. So that's the first little exercise we go into. Now, this is a very simple way of looking at it that I've done for the example here. So under the people menu, once this is turned on for you, you get these menus, which are customer commissions, product commissions, which is what I've just spoken about to begin with. So in my example, I've created two very easy to understand customer segmentations. One is retail, the other is trade. And then against my customer file, for every single customer account, I've assigned them to either retail or trade. I've then gone and done the same thing for people. Oh, sorry, for products. Sorry, it's in the people menu. So I've then looked at the services that I provide, and I've created these classifications: general service labor, tire labor, mechanical and parts, things that I don't want to be commissionable at all, tires and wheels. I've then gone through my full product file and assigned these categories to each product in my file. So now I've got a really base level classification. The really nice thing about this module is that you can change anything at any time and the calculation updates automatically. You're not set in stone to what the settings were when you did a sale or an invoice. So knowing that I've now built those classifications, I put my mind to take that all out of my mind and go, I need to build some mathematical formulas. Now these sit alone. We'll give you an example of one we've built here. I've created a code 05 PS, which is 0.5% on gross sales. And if I have a look at the options in here, I can put a formula in for an amount of money per unit sold, a percentage on sales, a percentage on profit. And depending on what I choose here, that's going to change the options below it. But if I go amount per unit sold, it's simply the sell price, gross sell price of an item, and I can create hierarchies. If I sell it between $0 and $20, it's this commission. Between 20 and unlimited, it's that commission. So you can have a graduating rate there. The example I set up was percentage on sales. So it's going to be on sales amount, right? Not on profit or profit percentage in this example. And again, I can create as many graduations as I want for the commissionable rate. Now, remember, we're not talking about a product or a customer or a person yet. So I have a play with this and I go, all right, well, these are the ways I think I can incent staff. And when I say staff, I'm meaning both salespeople and technicians, depending on how you want to use this. And additionally, account managers, if you're in wholesale and fleet management. So I create effectively my standalone mathematical calculations. So then the fun begins because I can go create a commission plan. And I can have as many of these as I want. So I could say, well, my base sales commission plan is, here you go, here's that intersection. On service labor for retail, I'm not paying commission. On trade, I'm not paying commission, right? What I've chosen to set up here is I'll pay 1% of gross margin on mechanical work. I'm going to do 0.5% on gross sales when it's to trade, but on margin when it's to retail, right? So I can build this matrix up however it looks. So effectively what I've created is a plan. So a plan is great. A plan, I can have as many plans as I want. I can have a plan that's individualized. I can have a plan that's generalized. The next part comes is I assign a plan to a person. So system files, people, and I go to my sales people. With this module on, there is a new tab that is for commissions and incentives. And I can come to Brian and say, you're now on the base sales plan. There's no quota. So from the first dollar you sell that hits those targets, you start earning money. Or I could put a hurdle in to say, well, for the pay period, you must do $1,000 of sales before you get your plan. So there's quotas in here as well. And you can even get down to the specific product lines and say you got to hit those quotas for those lines to activate. It's fairly complex, but you can then put this plan on this staff member. I won't save that because I've got some data in here, but the same can be said for technicians. So system files, people and fitters in this case. Again, there is the ability to put a plan against a technician. So now it all makes sense when we come back to the work order, where we can start tagging by line people against an invoice line. And we could also share We could have 2 technicians on an invoice line. The way the software works, if you tag 2 technicians, they share that 50-50. If you tag 3 technicians, it's a third, a third, a third. So once that's set up, then all that's left to do is pay it and analyze it and watch it. So in inquiries, there is a commissions inquiry module. And once you've done your sales in your system, you can basically choose the salesperson, choose the date range. That's everything up till today. Hit calculate. And now it's going to tell me of all the sales I've made in my system, which I haven't done that many, what was commissionable. So I can see I've done 2,700 worth of sales in this date period. That's the profit. That's my margin, qualified for commission. And then I can literally go to each intersection and it will justify every single line that I sold and the commission owed to me for this period. This is available on a printable report, and that can go to payroll for the end of, for the period of reporting. You can implement this and not implement commission payable to do tracking on the staff as well. So we're not suggesting that you move to a commission model. If you do want to start drilling deeper into who's doing what, you can actually activate this and not, it's not going to do any accounting entries. It's just an inquiry view, and you can use this to drill deeper into some of your staff activities. So it's really handy to start thinking about your business this way. In addition to this, there's one extra nice to add item, and that's known as incentives. So what incentives are, I guess as it says on the box, incentives are a special extra reason to do something. It's not uncommon in the US market for a supplier to come to you and say, hey, for every battery you sell, I'll pay your staff member directly if they sell one of our batteries. That's not uncommon. I don't think our market's particularly in that position, but it can be used in a similar way at your directive. And that can be, well, you might be sitting on some obsolete stock and you want to encourage people to move it. You might give them $1.50, $2.50 for each item that you mark as obsolete that you want them to push and move. So what you can do is you can create a incentive code. You can give it a color, and you can give an amount, either a percentage of the sell amount or a fixed amount. So I've just said here, I'm going to mark these things $2.50, and I'm going to mark it in this lovely magenta type color. So you would have seen that earlier if you're watching closely. I have applied that to a single product in my inventory. You can see there. So my salesmen know if you can move that, there's something in it for me. And then on your commissions inquiry, that will show up that we moved 2 of those. You owe that staff member $5. So that's commissions and incentives. I'm not sure if there's any questions that have come out of that. I know there's a lot of content there. And I think I've hopefully covered it in a structured way. David and Tobin, if you've got anything to add.
No, I think you've actually done it, documented it really well. Makes sense. So, and there's no questions come up so far, but I'll keep an eye out if anyone's got any questions.
Excellent.
But hopefully that's clear to everybody.
Okay. So running very close to time. I can see we've still got quite a large number of attendees. So what I'll do is I will move through to the bill of materials module. This is a new and significant module in the software, and it is a multi-level bill of materials. It allows us to create assemblies of products. There are some user interface changes. We'll work through those. The easiest way to give to do this is actually, let's go build something. And I think that will explain absolutely how this works. So what we're going to do is to build a whole strut assembly, shock absorber, coil spring, bump stop, bushes, top mount, hardware. So let's go and do that. Sorry, there's an echo. If someone's just joined. Thanks. Okay. So this is really cool. So what I'm going to do is create a new work order. I'm just going to jump straight into work order on the sales side, not even talking about creating anything yet. In my product file, I have got a product here that is a complete strut assembly. There's some special things about this product, no doubt, and you'll see that I don't have any in stock. It's red, right? Got a sell price for it. Fantastic. I'm going to finalize my work order. And because it knows that there's a bill of materials associated with this product, it's going to ask me, do I want to create a assembly production? I'm going to say yes. And what that's going to do is print out all the things I need to go and do to go and build that. This is now dealing back with the customer. Do you want a copy of your work order? Thank you very much. Away you go. So I've now got a order in here I can't fulfill on because I've not built the actual strut assembly yet. So if I just shrink down to my desktop, that printed a document for me that was a production run. And what it's done is said, you have to go and go build some assembly hardware, which is made up of some nuts and screws and washers and a strut plate. And then you need to go and build the complete strut assembly, which is made up of the hardware, which is this step here, and some bump stops, bushes, coil springs, shock absorber, and the strut top mount. There's all the quantities I need to go pick off the shelf. That's how many I have in stock. And that's what's available to use. So that's a really great piece of information and instruction. So I've got a new program in here, and I've got some new product codes in here as well. So if I have a look at that complete strut assembly, the way this works is there is a new product type on the file. Instead of being a product, it is an assembly. And that activates this tab here, which says, well, for this end product, it's made up of these things. And the cool thing with this is it's multi-hierarchy. So there's my hardware kit, and there's all the other things that need to go into this final assembly. And I can add and change and change the bill of materials here. I can export it to a CSV to work it and deal with it. The other thing is when I look at a product, if I look at, for example, this bush, which is a normal product, I can also see what completed assemblies this fits. And in this case, it's just that strut. And I need 2 of them for that strut assembly. So there's some relationship work there with the product file that has to be done. And then you get a new program in data entry assembly production. So because I did this out of a work order and I said, yes, I want to commence building it, it's already started the job for me. I can peek into the job by editing it. I can say, well, while I'm here, I might as well build 4 of them, and I could increase the demand. I can hit the little button here that expands out the assembly and tells me everything that this is rolled into. Or I can just come in here and go, yes, I'm going to update that. And I've gone and picked up all the things off the shelf. I've gone and built it. I'm going to complete it. And that will now do two things. It's going to build the hardware kit, and then it's going to build the strut with the hardware kit in it. It manages up all the costings to a final cost item, which is the finished item. So if I look in my products and I go back to the strut assembly final product, if I have a look, that's now done a journal for the assembly of that work order, and it's pulled all those little items out of inventory at cost and created a final production cost of that item. I, prior to this demonstration, purchased in all those little washers, coils, springs, etc., so we wouldn't be here for 20 minutes. And now that's decremented all of those out of inventory and assigned it to the final good. If I go to my work order now, I can see that that's no longer in red, and I can move this straight to an invoice and invoice the job out. So quite a considerable improvement in workflow for people that build things to sell. Can be used in many different ways that you can imagine, and yeah, in the pilot sites and the early adopters, it's actually been very, very well received. So again, Dave and Tobin, I think that covers the content. If you've got anything to add on bill of materials.
No, I think you've covered it pretty well.
Yep, no, I think so too. I think it's done nice and clear.
All right. So on time, only 3 minutes over, that rounds out the lunch and learn session. I hope you really enjoyed it. We'll follow up any other questions that have come in. We're obviously all here for you. The inquiries at megabus.com.au is a line into the sales team. Additionally, with your account manager contacts, and of course the support center is here for you. We will summarize this up and distribute it, and we hope to see you next time. We hope you got something out of this, and we may well also send a bit of a survey out to see any future topics and how well we did. So thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day, and good luck in your businesses.